First of all, the board of the Marion Polk County League, a great group of people. Our first VP has served on the board, I believe, 14 years. Is that commitment and loyalty or what? Sally Holloman. And Elsa Struble, I'm sure, has an equal history of service. I don't know how many years. She's our treasurer. Elsa is back there at the table. We have Kathleen West, who is our secretary. I think it's her second or third term. I'm not sure. That's amazing. Thank you. And we have Chris Vogel. She is fairly new to this league. She has experience in Washington, the state of Washington. She's our membership chair, very dynamic. And we have Adrian Pauly, who is a co-editor of our newsletter. Okay, focus. We have Robin Lamont, who is our publicity chair. She is fairly new to this assignment, but no one fears. You know, we're fearless women. We just say, sure, tell me what to do, and there we go. We do it. We have Dave Phelps. Of course, we are open to men for their leadership and their membership. So Dave is our voter service chair this year. Thank you, Dave. And we have Diana Butker, who is back to be our fundraiser. She has been a president of this league several times. I also would like to honor Emily Shue. She just moved here to Salem. She is a longtime resident of Eugene. She said the league led her into public service. That's pretty amazing. She served 3 terms on the city council in Eugene. Then she ran for mayor of Eugene. And she was also president of the Oregon City League, so we need to really honor her. Thank you. Okay, I put out, if you can see it, a history of our suffrage. What is the league based on? Everyone knows. It's voting and it's women's suffrage. And it's a 2-page history, which certainly I will not go through. But the league was formed in 1920. Before that, in 1890, we actually had a National American Women's Suffrage Association, and the struggle for women's vote went on decades and decades. Actually, in 1787, real quick, the Constitution put voting qualifications in the hands of states, and that's why to this day we have all these challenges now that voting laws, as you very well know, in about 5 or 6 states in this country are being changed or attempted to be changed, adjusted in whatever way. So that is still our cause. Our U.S. League President, Elizabeth McNamara, is very, very busy traveling from state to state. And we also have filed some legal action in some cases to make sure that access of voters to their right to vote is not circumscribed or short-shrifted or blocked. That's the one right that the league will stand for and fight for, is that everyone that is qualified and has the right to vote can vote. So I really commend us on the national level and assisting state leagues such as Florida, South Carolina, etc. Anyway, I'm not going to be able to go through all of this because it's fascinating. But as you probably know, among the long fights that the league fought in 1917, arrests began at White House picketers. This was to fight for the vote. 500 were arrested and 168 were jailed. And there was supposedly force feeding because there was a hunger strike, etc. So pretty dramatic. And then in 1918, the court declared previous arrests invalid. That's progress, right? A year later. Anyway, last year we were celebrating the vote for women in Oregon, 100 years, and it occurred in 1912. The Oregon voters passed initiative establishing women's suffrage. It had failed 6 times before. And Abigail Scott Duniway, was our great hero here in Oregon to get that through. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. Go to my next point. But anyone interested, and any of you guests, feel free to come and visit and attend our events. You will all receive the Focus newsletter in the email for an indeterminate amount of time. And you don't have to join today. We love for everyone to join today, but of course you might not. You might not be ready, you might not be interested, but in any event, stay in touch with us, the League. We have a lot of events going on. Outside of this, we have 5 more public events between October and April. So please attend. Most of those are in the library. And the schedule is online. And we have the link available. We make that available to you before you leave. But if you put in Marion Polk League of Women Voters, it's going to come up in Google. Okay, let me put this mic down. See if that works without it. It works very well with it in my hand. Okay. We have very, very honorable ladies here. Women, girls, boy, I don't know. Everyone has a different preference of what they want to be called, but they are powerful women, power women. We did invite LaVon Wilson from Dallas to come and attend, and she was not able to make it. And we also invited the Silverton City Council person, and she was feeling so terrible. She had a last-minute family issue that she could not be here. So I do honor them as well, and we did reach out to surrounding communities. Who we have here today is 2 city councilwomen from Kaiser, Cathy Clark, and this amazing lady, actually, believe it or not, was the president of the Marion Polk League in 1995. Is that amazing? I was trying to talk to her about the league. She said, Petra, I know all about it. Okay. And Marlene Quinn is also a City Kaiser counselor. Cathy has a position 4. Marlene has position 3. Cathy's term expires in January 2015, and Marlene's in January 2017. Do I have that right? Okay. Then we have our 3 city council women. Hey, is this great or what? For Salem. Diana Dickey from Ward 5, term expires in December of 2016. Is that right? All right. And Sheryl Thomas, Ward 6, term expires December 14. Thank you for being here. And Laura Tesler, Ward 2, term expires December 14. Thank you very much. Let's thank them and applaud that they came. Okay. We will do our dialogue today. It will sound somewhat formal, but the main reason is that we get all the dialogue we can in as short a time because, again, I don't expect for you to be here at 1 o'clock, and I think our wonderful speakers won't be here either. So I am asking for the privilege to kind of do this as if it were heaven forbid, a candidate forum. Voter service. In fact, if any of you are interested, we need lots of help. The voting season is coming up, 2014, the voting cycle, and we always need about half a dozen volunteers. So if you want to know, one of the things we do is candidate forums, some in CCTV and some in the public eye. And how do we do this? And we need several people to help put that together. So anyway, what we will do today is each one of these wonderful persons, ladies, girls, women, I say women, right? Is that pretty neutral? Okay. I'm going to give them a number assigned because we're going to ask 3 questions, and so that the sequence is fair. This is what we do in public forums of when they get asked a question. So why? Because then they have more or less time to think about it, right? So Cathy Clark is number 1. Marlene is number 2. Diana Dickey is number 3. Sheryl Thomas is number 4. Laura Tesler is number 5. Okay, so the first question is, how would you describe your role and the work required as a city councilwoman, and what are the rewards? And we're going to go with Cathy Clark.
Gosh, how long do we have? 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yes.
All right, thank you so much for having us here today. I really appreciate it. We need to eat it. How's that? Okay. The role of a city councilor, in my opinion, is to work with a team of other folks from the community to direct policy, and make decisions based on the best interest of our entire community. Kaiser has no wards, so all of us are tasked with representing the interests of the entire community. We bring different perspectives, we bring different experiences, and we need to respect that from one another as we work together for policy. We do not get involved with the operations. That's why we have a city manager. We need to be aware of what our city's doing, but we do not run that. The rewards are amazing. From the beginning, I met the most wonderful people, the greatest volunteers, the genius of people in my community, the ideas they had, and I just felt so privileged to be in a place where I could help bring that together. I'm a catalyst. If I know person A has idea here and person B has a need here, I have a chance to bring them together to make good things happen. And I don't have to be the person who does that. I just have to be the person who brings them together to make that good stuff happen. The rewards are also seeing projects, seeing needs of our community met, and thinking forward to the future. My portfolio is transportation, and I have learned so much about transportation systems, particularly active transportation, and it's been a privilege to see some of the projects that we need done come to fruition and are under construction now. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me also. I have been volunteering for the city of Kaiser since 1998. What I do is parks. Parks has kind of been my thing for the last 15 years, and I'm on the council liaison for the parks. The reason I chose to run is to bring my ideas to the city council one-on-one versus from the other side. I always felt that if you want to do something and you have a passion, then you need to go forth and do it. And so that's what I did. Like Cathy said, we set policy. We represent 35,000 people in the city of Kaiser. We all have our phones on the website, so we do get lots of numerous calls, and every single person is important. And I want to say that on our city council, we have 4 women out of 7, okay? 4 women. And all of us represent different aspects of the city, and we all represent different ideas. We want to develop partnerships. We develop partnerships with Marion County. We develop partnerships with the city of Salem. Because we are connected to Salem, those partnerships are very, very important. Like Cathy said, she does transportation. I back her up on transportation. So I, too, am learning the overwhelming information that has to do with transportation, but it's very, very important. I ran for city council to help make those decisions and to bring the ideas of the constituents to the city council because it's very, very important. Their ideas are very important. So anyway, I want to again thank you for having me here.
Yes, I would also echo thank you so much for having us here today. I really appreciate this forum and an opportunity to share with you a little bit about what we do. I actually got asked the other day by someone, I gave them my card, I just met them, and they said, well, what kind of counselor are you? And asked me what kind of counseling I do. So that was kind of interesting because sometimes it does feel like that when you are bringing groups together and you have a whole room full of different perspectives and you're trying to, work to really reach the common good. So that was interesting, and I was able to share that with him. One thing in Salem, we do have wards, so we do represent different areas. So that's an interesting thing because we represent our constituents and also the best interests of all of the citizens of Salem. And so it's also blending those perspectives together. How can I best meet the needs of my constituency and still, work together with all of my colleagues on the best interests of the city of Salem. So another thing that we do is we do oversee the budget of the city of Salem. And so we spend the taxpayers' dollars as wisely as we can. That's very, very important. People ask what we do, and I tell them that. And I say, we spend your money, and so we want to hear from you. How can we best do that? How can we best meet the needs of the community? When we are looking at our budget, because we don't often hear from people. We'll hear from a few people maybe when we have our budget hearings, but we don't hear from a lot of people. So that's another important thing that we do. But very, very happy to represent my constituents and the city of Salem and moving it into the future. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today, this morning with you ladies. The role of a city councilor for me, I'm pretty much probably the baby of the bunch out of us three. So I'm still learning a lot. So the role that I see as a city councilor is echoing what everybody else has said already, to be a liaison, to be a representative for the community in which we live in which we serve. A lot of the issues that come forth, some of them are good, some of them are not so good, but for the most part, we are to represent the city and our constituents, to listen to them. We may not agree all the time with everything that everybody has to say, or, there's debates going back and forth, but for the most part, we do listen to the information that's given to us. We discuss that information and we try to make the best decisions for that community regarding those issues. For me, being a counselor is a blessing. It's a learning experience. It's an educational experience for me. My background is human services, social services. I have 12 and a half years with DHS, and so that's my background. I like to help people. I like to educate people. I like to advocate for people, to embrace them. And so when I see people hurting or in need, my second reaction is to go and try to help them. So I guess that's pretty much it right now.
Thank you so much. And Laura Tesler.
Thank you. My role as a city councilor at times is to be the rock that the sea crashes against. Okay? And I'm the one on council. I have 17 years with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. I've basically always been in a career that's been dominated by men. I was the only woman regional manager for many years. And that kind of experience has really taught me a lot about working with other people. And there's 4 women on the Salem City Council. If we get one more woman, we'll have a quorum of women. Wouldn't that be interesting? A quorum of women. Now, if women ran everything, it'd be a lot better, I'll tell you that right now. I'm sorry to the men in this room, but the men in this room, listen, you're 2, and look at all these ladies with you. Smart. So anyway, talk about city council, Laura. So I'm the person on city council that people come to when they have issues about fish, wildlife, riparian areas, tree canopy, streams, culverts, runoff from roads, why is this development going to have a lot of erosion, all those types of things. And so that's pretty much what I bring to city council. And I'm in my 7th year now. And these, people have kind of become to turn to me on these issues, which has been really great for me to be able to give that input in, because that's very important input that we should think about, especially with development. There's 2 people in this room who encouraged me to run. One of them said, you can do a better job, and the other person said, I'll be your campaign manager. And so that was basically the spring for me. And, city council has been a great experience. It's really good leadership, the best kind that you could ever get, although it's entering the atmosphere at times, too, so you got to be tough, and I got to stop.
Thank you so much. Let's applaud for the first round. Okay, now we're going to start at the other end. And number 5, who is Laura, gets to talk about, what do you consider the important issues that your city council is dealing with?
Well, I think right now, many of you have probably read about the Boise Cascade project. And, that's a very keystone issue in our community. And one thing that we really need to do better is we need to think about how we can involve the community in these big development type ideas. Okay? I think that everybody should be brought into a scenario like that. I represent about 12,000 people, and I'm going to take the liberty to say that I do have a pretty blue dog ward in Salem. And, thank goodness for that. But, I try to listen to everybody. And, you have to kind of integrate these opinions. And, sometimes I've had to make decisions against the wishes of my constituents. And the important thing is that you have to talk to people, and you have to make sure that people understand why you made those decisions, because the public only sees about 25% of really what happens in an issue. We are the people that go to all the meetings and all the executive sessions and meet with the developers and have small group meetings and have neighbor conversations and get thousands of emails. And so we see 75% of all these moving parts behind. And we have to integrate all of that into a decision, and it is really a comprehensive task. You have to do a lot of reading, you have to talk to other people, you have to trust your staff, you have to really get a sharp edge on what's happening, and then you have to make a decision out of all of that. And it takes a lot of time. I used to run half marathons, and I'd be running that, mile 8 thinking about some issue down at city council, I mean, just, okay, 2 hours and 15 minutes to do 13 miles. So, these are the kind of, this is the kind of issues that we should really be bringing the community into, is these type very complicated issues. And so the community understands that there's many, many layers to these decision making. And we don't just all sit in a vacuum and make decisions. We are very conscientious about our constituency. And if you're not conscientious about your constituency, then you should not be in this position. You should not. If you are owned by somebody, or if you're just a sellout, you should not be in this position. It will not work for you. And that's all for me.
Thank you so much. Now, I want to tell you that Laura is a diver, a sea deep diver. She is a biologist, and befriend her on her Facebook. You'll be amazed.
Maybe not.
I have never seen so many sea life critters, beautiful colors and everything. And only she gets to see them because she dives down there. So I'm very jealous. Thank you. So now we're going to have Sheryl Thomas tell us, what do you consider the most important issues that your city council is dealing with?
Well, I'm going to echo what Councilor Tesler said. The downtown Boise Cascade issue is still, I believe, a huge issue, even though things have happened to bring that to a halt. That is really a big issue. It goes back to economic growth, economic development, bringing jobs, revitalizing our downtown area. It has a trickle effect for everything. Parking, Minto Island Bridge, Third Bridge for the whole area, for connectivity, accessibility from one area to the next area. So all these things, they tie in together. And like she was saying, we've had tons of emails from each side, as well as the developers and the staff and just random folks. And so we had to really look at the information that was given to us and make the best decision that we felt individually as we came together as a group for everybody that was involved. Granted, a lot of people didn't agree with, I voted one way, they voted a different way, but still we had to make a decision either way. And a lot of people didn't agree with those decisions either way. And we should be a community that uses our democracy to make the best decisions for everybody involved. And in doing that, we should be able to agree to disagree without having all these, rude or mean comments that were directed to us. We're here to try to do the best job that we can for everybody involved so that our community as a whole can grow together, not be separated. And so for me, that's what I've seen in this whole thing, is that there was a lot of divide. And so these issues, we have to make the best decisions for everybody.
Thank you very much. And now we have Diana and Dickey speak to us.
So over the past year or so, I would say the overarching theme and our biggest issues have been transportation related of one way or another. I mean, we've dealt with our third bridge issue, which is, as our staff has said, is the end of the beginning of the process. We have many years ahead of us. We've dealt with everything, including a skateboarding ordinance to put into our transportation system plan, up to our recent Boise Cascade access issue, which dealt with transportation and how would people access that property. It's raised questions for other access issues that we may be looking at in the future, just access to our riverfront park as we hopefully very soon we'll get to build the Minto Bridge. And so it just seems like every large issue that's come to us has had something to do with transportation lately. And I'll just share a little secret with you in case you didn't know this already, but sometimes if you're paying attention to a council meeting, you will see us ask questions that are probably very apparent in the staff report, or maybe you already know the answer to. We do that a lot of times for the public's benefit, so that we know the answer to it, but we want it to be answered in the public forum so that the public can have an understanding of our decision-making process. So just in case you didn't know that, I wanted to share that with you. But yeah, I don't expect the transportation issues to end anytime soon. So and really appreciate all the public engagement that we've had recently. I wish we had that much public engagement on some of our other issues that are big decisions that we don't see. You know, we have public hearings all the time that no one shows up for. So really appreciate all the engagement we've seen recently.
Thank you so much. And Marlene Quinn.
Thank you. You know, Kaiser, being connected to Salem, of course, we're going to have some of the same issues. But another issue we have is urban growth. Kaiser is growing. Our land infill is almost gone. And now that development has picked back up, Kaiser Station is a big item. What should we have there? How big should it be? And so we work with those neighbors. What are we going to do for them to help them offset noise, parking, traffic? So it's a big issue, Kaiser Station. And another big issue we're dealing with is Kaiser River Rapids Park. We finally have that river access. We finally have that boat ramp, but it's not complete. So we're going to build, and I'll just let you know, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but we're going to do a community build project on a big toy, where we're involving the schools and we're involving the whole community, and they will build that big toy project. So these are the big issues that I, as a counselor, am working on to help with, and could use all the input necessary from, my constituents. But I see those as some big issues for myself in the coming year as a counselor working hard towards. So I hope that, keep reading, because big things are happening at Kaiser Station and at River Rapids Park. And in order to connect those, we need transportation, and I'm going to let Cathy talk to you about that. But those are the urban development and the River Rapids Park are the biggest two issues that I see facing a lot of the Kaiser citizens. And big things are happening, and they're good things, and we have heard what they've had to say, and that's the way we're going. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And Cathy.
Thank you. Big issues, yeah, the urban growth boundary. We're in the process of completing our housing needs analysis and economic opportunities analysis, part of our comprehensive plan. We went through a new process working with DLCD to kind of streamline the process of looking at our comp plans. We were kind of a guinea pig. We were happy to do it. And I think our results, we had to work collaboratively with Salem, which was a benefit to both of us because we share an urban growth boundary. We're the only city that are Siamese twins in the state. Salem, or Springfield and Eugene got a divorce. We decided to work together, and I think it's been our benefit. Also, I have a happy piece of news for you all. I sit on the MWAC, the Mid-Willamette Valley Area Commission on Transportation. It's Saturday. I'm tired. And we just forwarded a recommendation to the Oregon Transportation Commission to fund the last dollars for the Minto Brown Island Bridge.
Yes.
So upon approval from the OTC, the last dollars will be in. Build that thing. Is going to be a wonderful safety project and a great opportunity to add a huge piece to our bike ped transportation system. Transportation is huge, and I really want to commend the Salem City Council for the work on the third bridge and the Salem alternative. It is an alternative that the Kaiser City Council endorsed to move forward for the full vetting for our environmental impact study. This is going to be a huge project for our area that I am firmly convinced we need the third bridge. We need it done right. They took the time. They met with their constituents. They brought an alternative that is effective for freight transportation, makes the downtown livable, improves our bike ped, and is going to be more affordable. These guys worked their tails off, and I want to commend them for it.
All right. So far, so good. It's amazing. I did not see anybody not looking at you and listening to you. So that is.
I guess that's a good thing.
Yes, we do admire your work, and we're very grateful. And who knows, maybe someday one of us will run, not me, but who knows? Okay, the third question, I will read the first question, but then I also want to make a couple comments to interject before we get everyone to answer here who chooses to answer. The question is, what can city residents do to get involved and help solve city issues? And what I didn't mention earlier was what the League stands for. I need to tell you that we are quite action-oriented, and we're really not quite known for that. We are known for voter service and for education, civic education, governmental and election-related education. We've done that for decades. But more and more, the League of Women Voters at the state level, at the national level for sure, and at the local level, we also have gotten much more into action. So what does that mean? We do studies, and I want to just show you, I think we have a table with League material, but we have done a study on transit, and you can pick up a copy. We had a local Marion, Polk County team who finished that study, and what we do is we gather all the information as fact-based as we possibly can, and it includes document review, it includes interviews, lots of different research. Then the results go in here. This is part of our education function. Why do we call it education? Because I could give this to anyone right now, and you read it, and you would be much more informed about the local education status, meaning transit issues here. Now then, we take the results of this study. It's a very divided, or not divided, it's a separate process. We take this study and we move it to the consensus process within the League. And that means all members have input to look at this report, and recommendations come forth, and we develop positions. And positions are really recommendations of what can the League help with for this topic. And sometimes we are, more than once, we are criticized that we are slow or cumbersome. But the issue is that we need to base all of our action based on the positions that we have reached. For example, the League, the National League, does not have a position on anti-war. We don't have a position, no war. So we really, meaning any of our officers or anyone who represents the League can't really go out. You could, but that's not appropriate, and it's really not within the bylaws, is to go out and demonstrate unless you do it as a private citizen, but not as a League person. However, we do have a position on the UN and the value of the UN for worldwide peace and many other purposes. So we can advocate. In fact, we are closely partnering with the UN. We have UN associations locally and statewide, et cetera. So that's just an example. We need to base our action on existing positions. We have a great report on coastal and nearshore Oregon, a fantastic scientifically based report. A lot of the people that helped put this together, in other words, what's happening with our coast today and how can we protect it environmentally and so forth. And this is it was pulled together by people who have quite a background in natural sciences. We did two studies, one study, water in Oregon, not a drop to waste. You'd say, why do we have that study? There are lots of water issues in Oregon. And here are two books. This is the official. They have all the positions in here, positions of like national positions. And here are state positions, and we have a list of local positions. So people, for us, our action chair, our action activity on the board's part is based on these positions. If we take an action on a national or state position, we have to certainly communicate with that agency, national or state, before the local league does take an action. And a little bit later, I will talk to you about an action that's happening right now, but I'll talk about it later. And it is sanctioned by the State League, and the State League, because the State League has a position on that. So that's pretty exciting. Now, there's also a book, by the way, here on the history, a local history of the League. And if anyone is really interested, this is amazing. Some people here in the room, their picture is in it, actually. There's the people that have served as president, etc. So, having said all that, we have the education arm and we have the action arm. And what we are experiencing is that there is more and more interest of the local population who want to know what we do and perhaps join us and perhaps help us and be active. There is more and more interest in action. What is your agency doing to help make a difference? And how can we be involved? So what can the League sanction and say, yes, we are going to support you. You can do this. You can put your league banner around you or your name tag and say, I will do that. And I represent the League. So that is a great interest. The education part is still very important. Part of it is the electronic age. Probably most of us go online. I do several times a day. And I found out more about anything I want to find out about. And I'm not a particularly good library customer because I become an online addict and just find out things that are just amazing right here, right now. And then it changes tomorrow morning of what's happening. So it's an amazing, amazing times that we are in. So based on all that, our strength in action, our strength in education, I'm going to ask again the last question. What can city residents do to get involved and help solve city issues? And this time, I'm not going to call on any one person, but you may answer the question any way you feel like. And when you do that, afterwards, we have at least a 10, 15-minute time for audience questions. So write down your questions right now. If you'd like to ask any, this is your chance as soon as we finish with these replies. So the question again, what can city residents do? Who would like to speak up?
Well, I guess we could just go straight. I encourage all city residents to come to city council or watch city council. We do an annual survey, and we encourage all residents to do the survey. That helps us determine what our important needs are, whether it be public safety, transportation, and other needs. We get the public involved with this community build project that we're going to do. We get the community involved with the building of the boat ramp. I mean, we try to make sure that we get every citizen involved. Our motto in Kaiser is pride, spirit, and volunteerism. We believe that, in order for that city to function, with a limited amount of staff that we have, volunteers are very, very important. And so in any process that we do in that city, we encourage subcommittees. We encourage the citizens to come onto our committees, and we'll have some subcommittees where we actually have citizens come onto the committee and bring that feedback to the neighborhood associations. We also attend neighborhood association meetings. We encourage what they do. We get involved with what they do, and that's what we ask them to do for us. So it's very, very important because, with 36,000 people, we want to hear every voice, but it's difficult. So you want to be able to reach out in these different ways that you can in order to get all those citizens involved with what you do. Because like I said, it's very, very important to us how they feel about our issues and what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
In League of Women Voters, I learned get the facts. I was on Observer Corps, I did membership, I did treasurer and so forth. I learned from the League to do very thorough homework, and then when you go to testify, you have facts behind you. Sitting on this side of the table now, I want to tell you how effective that is. We have heard from people with opinions that I am relatively certain I could not find additional information to back up. That does not invalidate their point of view, but it makes it very difficult for me as a decision maker to use that information as a part of my final decision. You guys bring facts. You bring well-researched facts and very well-stated opinions. To be effective, be brief, be clear, and be directed in your testimony. That is going to get traction with the people who are sitting and listening to the various people testifying. The League has a reputation for being thorough and being fact-based. And your reputation really gives you credibility both on the local and this last session I had the opportunity to work in the legislature. You had that same credibility in the state. So value that, treasure that, use these resources. And finally, I would encourage people who want to get involved, talk to us. We are volunteers. We are neighbors. We're not paid staff. We are volunteers. So call us, email us. Don't just sit there and go, well, they're not interested. Yes, we are. We want to hear from folks. Talk to us, communicate with us, and let us know what you think.
Thank you. I also want to mention Day of Legislature. The League of Women Voters of Oregon is putting that on at least once every year. Now we have annual sessions. This coming year is a shorter session on February the 10th. It's approximately from 8 to 2 or something like that, 8 to 3. And there are lots of great opportunities to go to the Capitol, to be in a room with 100 other league and other persons being interested in civil action, and listening to great speakers and getting the latest on what the issues are, the coming legislative session, what they might be dealing with. So please don't miss that, February 10th. So, okay, the next person.
Thank you. One thing that would be really good is if, we heard a lot of people, there's issues where just people just come in droves and they're just fired up and then we do the budget and you can hear crickets in the background. We're talking about cutting the library. The library, that's the foundation of a free society. Wouldn't you agree that we have a library that's accessible and open? And we, terrible things we've had to cut out of the budget. The parks budget is skeletal right now, skeletal, because it's general fund. And when we talk about these issues, you can hear crickets. Where is everyone? Okay, if I could ask you to do one thing, and I know this is like reading the phone book, is, think about the council and the city budget, especially when the council sets goals, because that's where the council is supposed to be spending their time for the next year. So you really need to think about how budget affects you. And the other thing that I would like to ask, this is really hard to do, and I do it myself, and you just got to stop thinking about me. Our society is all about me these days. Me, mine. We don't think about us and we and the neighborhood and the city and the planet. We don't think about, where it's all about me. How can I get what I want right now? Why should I pay for streetlights in the rest of the city? I have streetlights in my neighborhood. Really? Really? That's the wrong way to think. I wasn't raised to think that way. And if there's one thing that people could do is just don't think about me. Think about us. Because it is we, the people. Not us, not them or I. It's we, the people. So think about that.
Thank you so much.
Well, in addition to the things that have already been said, I guess as a former teacher, I think that everyone has their own strengths and areas that they're very interested in and passions. And one of the things that we have in Salem, and I think Kaiser has this too, is we have a whole list of boards and commissions that are just looking for. Sometimes we're just scrapping to find people to apply for them. You can find your passion, you can find your interest there. We've got everything from a parks board, a library board, urban renewal boards. I'm drawing a blank. We've got a lot of them. Planning commission, budget committee. There are some that meet often. There are some that meet once or twice a year. So if you go onto the city's website, you can certainly find, I'm sure, something that kind of feeds your passion, feeds your interests. And we definitely, when we are making decisions that affect things that those boards are recommending, we take those boards very seriously and into consideration when we're making decisions. So that is one great way that you can be involved and engaged. Other than that, like Laura said, when we're making budget cuts, please let us know. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what your thoughts are. We want to hear what's important to you, because we do listen and we do take that into consideration.
Thank you.
I guess I'm last. I just want to say this, that there's an African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a community to raise a city, a group of people that come together for the common goal of the city. I encourage everybody, and I'm out there all the time because I have many other hats other than city councilor. I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a leader in my church, and I'm on different other organization boards and things of that nature. So I'm always out there in the community. And so I use this position to educate people as I'm involved in other things. And so it's very important. We have our neighborhood associations, as was mentioned before. Really get involved in those neighborhood associations. My goal for my area is to get more community involvement because sometimes we're overlooked. And so my goal is to get the businesses involved in our community to bring some awareness to some of the things that we need over there, like street improvements to certain areas that don't have sidewalks. Get some sidewalks for the safety of the kids. Beautification of the area to make it more inviting and to cut down on some of the negative connotations that come with that particular area. So your involvement in doing things in this community is very vital. Everybody on this panel has said that we do listen. We read all the emails. We may not be able to respond to every one of them, but we try to as best as we can. And just come out, come to the meetings, come to the neighborhood associations, come to the budget meetings, get online. We have technology today that is just so vast and awesome that you can click a button and find anything that you want and just come out. Support us as we try to support you guys.
Let's give them all a hand. Okay, now it's your time to ask questions, and I have a roving mic.
The National League is doing an update on an earlier agriculture study. And I noticed that the mayor has put together an agriculture forum. I'm interested to know personally, not on behalf of the national study, but personally, whether, to what extent those of you on the Salem City Council sense that that is a balanced group, because I'm very interested in sustainable agriculture, not the more business agriculture. And, well, in other words, industrial agriculture. I'm interested in sustainable. Do you feel that that forum is a balanced group representing the people on the part of permaculture, sustainability, organics? Or is it inclined, as many city services, in my observation, are more toward a business orientation?
I guess I'll go ahead and take that one, Rose. Rose, that's an excellent question. I've actually attended a few of those meetings, and I have been involved with that group in another way. But basically, I do feel that that group that's been appointed does represent the big industrial growers like NORPAC and those type of conglomerates that we have in Salem. And Marion County has 222 different agricultural crops. Did you know that? That's a lot of different diversity. And so we have people that at that table, we have Wandering Angus, for example. We have most of the small brew people are there, along with NORPAC, along with people who are doing community, the CSA. It's community sustainable agriculture, where you get the box every 2 weeks. Okay. I really do feel that the people that are sitting around that table do represent the different varying, and there's young people there, there's older people there, there's business people there, there's people that, have hair down to their pippic, and, there's all kinds of different people there. And it's really kind of nice to go to those meetings because you can see all these kind of ideas getting forward, and everybody kind of respects everybody who's there too. The other thing that spun off from this is that a couple of years ago, I said we should have a seed incubator over in Fairview Industrial Area for people who are trying to start up small-scale breweries. And people thought I was insane at the time. And lo and behold, we now have 3 breweries going on 4. And I would really encourage, if you like beer, do come over to Fairview Industrial and in that area and visit Santiam, Gilgamesh, Salem Ale Works, and another one's going to come online this fall. And that was an output, a kind of an offshoot from that. So that's the kind of thing that we need, is a small business agricultural like that. So short answer to your question, yes.
Okay, let's ask another question. So if one person answers, we probably want to get more questions in. How's that?
My name is Janet Adkins, lead member. On the heels of our local transit study, I know you're not transit board members or city councilors, but what can your cities do to improve transit use, or at least reduction in single occupancy vehicle traffic?
I think one of the things is when we are looking at our transportation system plan, that we're making sure that we allow for and plan for increased and additional transit in our city, and that when we are, for example, the Boise, I'll just use that as an example, when they had asked for tax credit for the housing. Really, when you looked back at the intent of the original legislation back in the 70s, it was for transit-oriented development. And I didn't see that development was transit-oriented, but there are ways that it could have been modified to be more transit-oriented than it was presented to us. So I think encouraging those kinds of things, when we have large developments come in, make sure that there's accommodation for public transportation, and look for opportunities to partner with the transit district on their projects. And we've come to them to ask them about what's their recommendation on the third bridge. Well, if they come to us and they're looking for partnership, they're looking for support, definitely find those opportunities where we can partner and make the best use of our shared resources.
Thank you. The next question.
If I can follow up as well from the Kaiser point of view, the Kaiser Transit Center just opened. We worked in collaboration with the Transit District. They were wonderful partners in the establishment of this beautiful facility that will not only serve our local transit district, but it also is positioned near I-5. And if you haven't seen it, please drive over there or take the bus over there, preferably, and take a look. It is a model of what a transit center can be, with park and ride, with solar, with a green roof, other sustainable features. City of Kaiser requires on-site stormwater mitigation for all of our development. They accomplish that beautifully. But it's also positioned by rail, so if that ever comes, that it can also serve rail. We also have the same issue with development, making sure that it takes into account access to transit. We have a development in North Kaiser that when they put it in, they didn't consider the radius of the buses, and so they had to route them around Emerald Point. And we don't want that to happen again. So we're working with our planning department to change code, whatever's necessary, to make sure it's a requirement that transit be able to access those areas.
Thank you so much. Next question.
Hi, I'm Maddie Kimmick. I'm just a visitor here today. I've lived in the region a long time, but only very recently moved into the city. So it's sort of a basic question about city council, and related to your earlier question. To what extent does city council get involved in issues of hunger and sustainable food systems for the entire Salem community or Kaiser?
We have a social services budget. It's not very large. We have a social services advisory board that meets and considers applications from all the different entities that are underneath this system that we have. The current budget is really disappointingly small. I think we have about $250,000. That doesn't even begin to really meet the need. Social services, we would like to expand those things, but it's a question of budget. That comes out of the general fund. General fund is steadily shrinking because of compression in the tax issues. Measure 5 and the other measures that followed it just really killed those abilities of cities to have those funds. The first thing to go is general funds. So we have a skeletal system. We do support some of the things in the community. As far as sustainable agriculture, we do have the mayor's appointed committee. We have lots of community garden outreach that's happening in the city of Salem, which is actually pretty cool.
And Kaiser wants to respond?
I'm gonna let Cheryl.
Okay, great.
I was just going to piggyback. We also partner with Marion and Polk, Marion Polk Food Share, also the Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency, and a host of other organizations that do work in those areas to help individuals with those types of issues. So there is a good partnership going on between the city and a lot of the organizations here in the community.
Thank you.
In addition, Kaiser has 3 community gardens that also work with Marion Polk Food Share. We also have grants through the energy, rehabbing homes for energy efficiency and for, let's see, what was CDBG, you know what that means. And thank you, Community Development Block Grants. We partner with Salem administration of some of that, and some of it we've finally put in the processes since we have very short staff to be able to administer those, and we still have some funds that can be granted for people who want to improve their properties. Pardon? Yeah, a Miracle of Lights, our holiday lighting route through Gubser, is a major contributor to the Marion Polk Food Share. So as you drive through, you have an opportunity to donate food and money toward the Marion Polk Food Share, and that's a huge event each year. We also partner with Habitat. We partner with the Marion Polk Food Share. The city tries to work with the community organizations, and we are a big supporter of the 211 through United Way. That's been a huge help in connecting people and the appropriate resources more efficiently.
Thank you very much. And we have maybe at least one more question, maybe 2. Can we hear that?
Oh, my name is still Barry Lee Coyne, West Salem, and I want to thank all you wonderful ladies for enlightening us today on some of the ins and outs of public service. My burning question is, what are some of the main myths and misconceptions that male voters have in terms of women in politics and public service? Try that.
I'll touch that one.
Go for it.
Since I have one of those husbands, you know. I think the misperception is they think a lot of times that we just do things based on feelings. That may be true to a certain extent, but if we didn't have those feelings, it wouldn't push us to do what we do. So I think the misperception for them is they don't really understand what we do and why we do it. If they ask the questions, then they would know. You know, my husband, I try to talk to him a lot about a lot of the things that we do as counselors, or I do as counselor. And sometimes we can get into this really heated debate, and it's like, really? Really? You should just come. And so when I invite him to come, you know, to some of the meetings and whatnot, I don't have time for that. I'd rather go golfing. So it's getting the understanding, and then you'll understand a little bit better what we do and why we do it. So does that kind of help?
Okay. Anyone else here? Or yes?
You're not touching that one? There's a general misperception that we do this as a job. This is a volunteer position, and men and women across our communities think that we work for our cities. We don't. We all have to have day jobs to pay the bills. Being a city council person, being a mayor in Oregon is a volunteer gig. You gotta want it. And there has to be a passion there. Among the men in the community, I've seen a change over the years. I'm also in a male-dominated portfolio area. I'm the only woman who sits on our local metropolitan planning organization, and I happen to chair it. So I think there's been a move toward appreciating people as people rather than assigning gender roles in our local government, and I hope that continues on to the national level. I think this body of women has worked very hard to work as individuals, to represent our gifts and abilities, and earn the respect, and I do mean earn, the respect of the men and women that we work with.
Thank you.